You're listening to 515, the Ultra Podcast, the show that invites you into the lives of people who make up the Ultra family. Here's your host for these conversations, Larry Ryan.
Thanks, MJ. Today I speak with Gloria Aguilera as the athlete in profile for the UltraMX 515. She's joined by her husband, Jose, who is a 515 non-stop finisher. And Steve King is back with a related Steve King story. Just before today's conversation, I wanted to let listeners know about my summer plans in Penticton in the coming weeks. I was set up to crew at both the Ultraman Canada race and the 520 Canada. Unfortunately, for the Ultraman Canada race, I've been told by Brad that I am not welcome at his race. Now, this is really unfortunate because I thought that I had left that race on good terms. I was very much looking forward to spending time with my athlete, Makoto Hoshino, who was previously on this podcast. He ended up getting stuck in the middle, and I apologize to Makoto for that. Also, I wanted to meet in person all of the athletes that I met through their applications when I was with the race and corresponding with them regularly. Not to mention those who have been on the podcast. So I will set up somewhere in the registration hotel for you to drop by and say hello and maybe pick up one of my 515 mugs. I'll make a point of posting where that'll be on the Facebook page, so please look there to find out where you can find me. In the next episode of the podcast, Steve King and Steve Brown and myself are all going to join together for a 520K race preview. Chad Bentley and myself were going to crew for Juan Andrade, but as I mentioned in the last episode, he has confirmed that he will not be coming due to the fact that he cannot receive a visa in time. Still, we'll be around the race, maybe helping out Steve, or if there's any athletes out there who are still looking for a crew, Chad and I are available. So I look forward to seeing everybody up there in the next few weeks in Penticton. Hopefully I'll record a few conversations for this podcast, and we'll all have a great time. It's all about the Ohana. Now here is today's conversation with Gloria and Jose. My guest today will be competing in the upcoming Mexico 515 this October. Her path to getting to the 515 is not the usual one. In fact, her very first triathlon was a 355 race in Cozumel. She has a background as a runner and has completed 12 marathons, most recently in Boston this year. But she has been a member of the 515 Ohana as a crew chief for her husband on multiple occasions, and now she is the one stepping up to take on the challenge. Joining me from her home in Mexico City, today's athlete in profile for the MX 515 is Gloria Aguilera. Welcome.
Hi, Larry. Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you. And this is a bit of a 2-for-1 today because we are also being joined by your aforementioned husband that you've spent so many times crewing for. So welcome also to Jose Postigo.
Hi, Larry. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome, Jose. And it's great to have both of you here. So, Jose, this time you are going to be the one stepping back from the racing to do the supporting, the crewing for Gloria. So in this interview, I think we'll do a similar thing where we'll put most of our conversation will be focused around her story today, but I would also like to hear about some of your experiences along the way as we go as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So first of all, you are both practicing lawyers and you are raising 3 children. So time management must be a skill that you both excel in order to also work in all of the training lifestyle that comes along with these races. So can you tell me a little bit, Gloria, about how you are able to maintain your balance between your work and your home responsibilities?
Yeah, I think that, and the word that you just used, balance, is like a basic, thing for me. I just think that I wouldn't feel okay doing what I do if I felt that I'm leaving important things or things that are important for me behind, Probably do not try to accomplish everything like in the best way that I think that I could if I had the whole time available. So, for example, swifting instead of going out and riding outside for me, it's been like the most important thing that I found, because we live in Mexico City, and in Mexico City, riding outside it's not only hectic, it's a bit dangerous, and it's very time consuming, no? So if you want to go for a, let's say, 4-hour ride, probably you need to spend about 8 hours from your day. So those are 8 hours that I would have to take away from my kids, and I do not necessarily feel okay doing that. So I know it's not probably as good as going outside, but if I get into my Swift and I go for the 4-hour ride, I think that's just good enough for me.
Yeah, and I guess with Mexico City being such a large metropolis, it probably takes you just so long to get out to anywhere where you can like be on a highway or something and have a long stretch. Is that the way it is down there?
Correct. That's about it. And there's some places that are nearby, but they're not that long. So you would need to be, just like doing circles around. And if you're gonna do that, then you should better, stick to the to the Swift and go ahead and do it like that.
Yeah, right. Jose, what's been your experience in that? You've been doing this for quite a few years. Like, is there something that you've figured out that allows you to get your maximize your training hours?
Yeah, as Gloria mentioned, definitely logistics is everything here at home, because we are practicing attorneys. We are transactional type lawyers, corporate lawyers. So we work really long hours. We have 3 beautiful kids, and we love to be with them. And then how to be able to accommodate exercising in a day is pretty difficult, because we also want to sleep sometime. So I think that basically what we've done is it's doing a lot of indoor work, because we can do it here at home, and take a quick bath and continue working, or eat with the kids or whatnot. That's the basis. In Mexico City, it's pretty difficult to go outside, to be frank. I mean, you can go and run outside. That's not that's not really an issue, because you can do it right here where we live. But going out to bike or actually going for a swim takes a lot of time that we don't have in our hands.
And do you both work from home, or do you have offices that you need to go to? And can you work the commute as part of your training?
I have my own practice. I've have it since, I don't know, like 15 years or so. So for me, it's been like a pandemic, for the last 15 years. So I'm very used to working from home and having my own times, and just making time for everything.
For me, I'm a partner in a big law firm, so I have to go regularly to the office. Before the pandemic, I was fortunate enough to have one of these gym chains in our building, actually, where our offices are located. So for me, it was not that bad, because it was like having my gym in home. So I could manage pretty well.
And how do you find, because obviously you guys are in a bit of a high stress job as well. How do you find that the work environment and the exercise that you do, how do they help to balance your lives as well? Maybe Jose, I'll start with you on that.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll be dead if I didn't exercise and do this ultra stuff. I have an anxiety attack, like a panic attack, like 15 years ago, because our work is really demanding, and I've always done exercise. I was a soccer player before, and I've been like 20 years doing adventure racing and triathlons and whatnot. And I think that I am here, and I can actually operate in a normal basis. I would say, because because I devote time to exercising. I would have run crazy already if I didn't. This is my space in the day, and although we do it really hard, it relaxes me. And takes my mind out of the work, and that's what helps me specifically.
Yeah. Right. And Gloria, you claimed that in your words to be just a runner for a very long time. So I'm understanding that that's probably the same for you. You can go out for a run and clear your mind. But when you finally decided that you wanted to take on triathlon, what sort of changes did the two of you have to make in your lifestyle or your duties to your family? You mentioned that you have three children. Maybe you can just start by telling us what their names are, their ages, and then we can get a feel for what's going on in your house a little bit, and how did you balance or change anything when now we have two full-time working lawyers doing this full-time training for 5:15 races?
Well, yeah, we have three kids. The biggest one is named Constanza. She's 12 years old. Then we have Javiera. She's 10 years old. And then there's Julian, who's 9 years old. So, they're just 3 years apart from the smallest to the oldest. But they're in great ages. They truly listen. Well, they are kids, but they still listen to us as an authority. But they are already like very independent. So it's not like this hard work you have to put into having toddlers just breaking everything around. So it's been obviously easier now than probably when they were smaller and we needed to train or do anything and they wanted mom and daddy around. So now they are happy when we are not around, actually, bossing their day. So it's been easier now.
Yeah. So maybe that's the kind of thing that you wouldn't have been able to do 5 or 6 years ago when they were younger, because your family just wouldn't have that balance.
Nah, to be honest, I ran my first marathon when my third kid was 5 months old. So I think that's something that we, as Jose said, it's like what gives structure and happiness to our days is probably based upon doing exercise. So I think we have always put a lot of, the necessary importance into exercising so that it's a part of our day.
Right.
Even when they were smaller. Yeah.
And Jose, I understand that you like to build some pretty epic Lego sets with the kids. Is it with the kids, or you just do that on your own for your own entertainment?
Well, I started on my own because the kids were small, really small yet. But it was incredible because I'm talking about Legos that have like 10,000 pieces, 9,000 pieces, and they are pretty technical. But I sat down and the kids were there, and I have them put some pieces in, some things that were simple.
Yeah.
And nowadays it is incredible what they can do with the Legos, especially our youngest kid. He can by himself put up a really big and technical Lego without any help. So it has been a great experience doing that with the kids.
Yeah. So what's the biggest project you've ever done? What was it?
I think the biggest in terms of pieces, it's the Coliseum, the Roman Coliseum. Yeah, probably that's the biggest. But we have everything here from we have like a lot of very fancy sport cars. Harry Potter's castle, which is like 7,000 pieces. The Taj Mahal. So we have plenty of them around here.
Excellent. Maybe this would be a good time, Jose, for you to just maybe share some of your tri background. It's a little more extensive than Gloria's is at this time.
Probably the most important is that I've done like 21 Ironman, the full Ironman. It all started because when I was a little kid, I saw the Ironman World Championships, a some sort of summary in the TV, in the Mexican TV. You can imagine, nobody knew anything about it, and there were sports broadcasters trying to talk about this crazy event. So I said to myself, I was probably 8 years old or less, and I said to myself, one day I'm gonna do one of those. So it took me a lot of years to get there, but I did the first one probably like 13 years ago, and then my all my focus was on qualifying to Kona. I knew I couldn't do it by regular time by winning a first place in my age group. So I did it through the legacy program.
Oh, yeah.
And once I've got like into 18 Ironmans, I received the invitation and I did that, and it was one of the most wonderful things I have done ever. And after that, it happens, right? When you actually meet a goal that you had for years,
right,
then everything vanished, and I didn't know what to do anymore. So I had heard about Ultraman and 515. So I decided to take the next step, and so far I've done a couple of the Ultraman distance classic style or regular event, which is the 3-day event. And I have stepped up that and done a couple of Ultraman nonstop events already. Along with that, I've done like I don't know how many 70.3 events, marathons, and whatnot. But I'm now focused exclusively on ultra.
Yeah. And Gloria, you've been at Jose's side for most of these Ironman races, cheering him on, and even though you were running marathons, the other parts of the triathlon didn't really appeal to you until Jose did a 5:15 race. Can you tell me about how that suddenly turned you around on the sport?
Yeah, that's correct. And I'll listen to this because I was in Kona. I mean, you cannot get more inspired than watching people at Kona. Yeah. And not even then did I even dream of doing a triathlon. I was just not interested at all. But then you go to the Ultraman, and then you start, I don't know how it works in any other one, but at least in Mexico, you jump into the car and you're behind your athlete the whole time. So you get to see every part of the struggle. No, it's not the same as just standing in the finish line and clapping and say, okay, well done, let's go. I'm tired, no? But when you're there and you're hungry and you're tired, and then you are seeing how they go through it. And beside that, you get to be friends with every other person that's competing and the crew and the whole the whole experience. It's something I've never experienced before. So it's funny because I'm very sure that most people go and see those kind of things as a crew and they say, I would never do this. But for me, it was like someday. I don't know why, but this is something that I could imagine myself doing at some point. It just has it all.
Yeah. And so then obviously you go on and you sign up to do like a sprint distance or an Olympic distance, so you can start working your way up to the ultra distance, right?
Well, not not for me. It was October 2020. It was the middle of the pandemic. I was sick and tired of every marathon being canceled. And I just missed racing that much. And for some reason, at least in Mexico, triathlons were still happening. So I said, what the heck? I mean, I'm just going to do a triathlon now. And I signed up for my first half Ironman distance, but that was supposed to happen 6 months after I signed up. And then for some reason, I went out riding with my friends for the first time, and it ended up being a 90K ride. And I loved it. I truly loved it. So, it was kind of, heartbreaking for me knowing that I had to train for a 90K distance that was supposed to happen 6 months after, but I was already doing that. And I said, no, I want to push my limits a little harder because I just feel that I can do it. And that's when I found out that there was an Ultra 355 happening in Cozumel in April.
Right.
So I felt kind of, crazy, but I consulted with Jose, as I thought he was an experienced guy in this field. So I said, hey, do you think I can, go for an Ultra 355 as my first triathlon? He was like, yeah, sure, you can do it. Just train for it. But of course you can. So I think that's all that I needed to hear, like somebody that I respected, and his opinion was good enough for me.
Yeah. And obviously you had the running part down. That wasn't going to be an issue for you. And most people can learn to cycle and get through that with the same endurance. But swimming is a more technical thing. And obviously the distances, even in the 355, is a long swim. How was your swimming ability?
I'm the worst at it. I mean, I'm so bad. My technique is awful. If I have any current against, I actually go back. I mean, it's something that I didn't have in mind when I signed up for this. I was just thinking about the running and the biking, and I said, yeah, and of course I can go for, I don't know, an hour or so. I was not ready for what it was coming my way. It was a 5K swimming in open waters. I had never been in open waters before, and then I found that the first 2.5K were with current against, and I was literally just watching the same damn coral. And I was like, what's happening? I'm not moving forward. So, I wasn't going to give up on my first try. On the first part of the race, I said, I mean, if I get disqualified because of the timing, well, that can happen, but not because I gave up. So I just kept on going and trying to do my best to move forward. And eventually it happens. Then, you have this curious feeling because you know that you're just floating because your technique is not good enough to actually move forward easily. But at some point, you do move forward. And that's something that you have to concentrate on, or at least that's what, kept me through it. And so I just remembering stepping out of the water, thinking that I was already out of the necessary time, that I was going to be disqualified. And Van actually told me, no, of course you can still go on. Are you for real? Can I go on? Yeah, go on. I felt so happy then, because then I knew that I could actually get away with having an ultra as a first triathlon.
Wow. Yeah. That's a big swim in open water. That's not necessarily something you want to do for your first one. That's an incredible story. Now, Jose, do you have the type of relationship with Gloria where you can help teach her some of the skills? Like, have you guys been working on swimming together and stuff like that? Or is that like a no-no in your relationship where she's not going to listen to you, even though she just said you have all this experience?
Oh, absolutely. We have an excellent training and workout relationship. We actually do a lot of cycling together. But I cannot show her anything about running because she runs like 10 times faster than me. And I'm not really a very good swimmer myself. So I don't morally feel like I can show her much. Right. I'm more like the type of guy that does things. I don't care if I'm not good at it. I'll just try and do it. And if I have to swim the 10 kilometers, I'll do it. I'm not gonna be the fastest. My style is horrible, probably, but that's my philosophy, right? And I think Gloria knows that. I've never been very good at any of the three. Probably cycling is what I do best, but I've never been that good. I don't think I have like a very favorable physical attributes for doing this type of races, but I have the passion and I have the mind to do it. I don't give up, and I'm not scared of going in. And if at some point that they have to pull me out from the water, well, I don't really care. I just do it, and it works.
Yeah. So you're in the competitor class of there to compete against yourself and the race and the time. You're not necessarily there to be the victor in these ultra races.
Absolutely. I don't know if I could physically, because I don't feel like I have these like great fitness attributes, or that my body is X type or whatnot. But overall, I have too many things in my plate. I I would have probably to leave my work as a lawyer and put no attention to my kids and start training 10 hours a day, which is something I don't care. I don't want. I do it because I love this stuff. I love doing ultra, or even Ironman and ultra events. I literally enjoy each minute that I'm out there. Even if it's really cold, even if it's the weather is miserable, whatever, I'm suffering, I feel dizzy, whatever. I enjoy it. I do it for the fun of it. Obviously, I prepare myself. I'm not telling you that I'm just go outside of my house to do these events. I try to take care of myself and be serious about it. But my aim is to participate first of all, and be very happy doing it. And if I can attract people to do it, and to feel what this is, it's probably more important for me than winning a gold medal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And for Gloria, for you then, is it a similar philosophy? You're there to do it just as part of your lifestyle, that you're training with your husband, and obviously I think what comes through is that you guys are there for the Ohana as well, and the feelings and the people that you've met. So are you on the competitive side, or are you on the I want to complete it side?
It's funny because my personality is competitive. So I'm always like just for the fun. But if I see somebody in front of me, and that's very, very clear when we are, doing indoor biking together, because he just doesn't care. He doesn't care if somebody passes by him. If somebody passes by me, I try to catch them,
Yeah.
But in, the reality of the story is that I really do like to enjoy this. If at the moment that I stop enjoying myself, then I don't want to do this anymore. And it became very clear for me on when I was just marathoning. The last long distance that I did before my marathon, I ended up actually crying. And I said, this is not working for me anymore, because I was just trying to BQ. I wanted to qualify for Boston that hard. And it became the only important thing for me. And when you stop enjoying what you do, then I think you are, probably you should redirect yourself, because then if you're not doing it for the fun, then why?
Right. Yeah. And so when you did get to Boston this year, was it everything you wanted? Was it everything you expected?
It's funny because when I finally got there, because then the pandemic happened, and my first Boston became a virtual one that I run in Mexico. So when I BQ'd for the second time and I actually went to run it there, it was very funny because I didn't actually prepare myself for Boston, because then Boston became the training for my first Ironman, which happened last year. So I was, taking a look at all the people around me, and they were so nervous and thinking of their times and the weather and the humidity. And I couldn't care less of anything, because I was just in there for the fun and, for training purposes. So it ended up being more than I would have ever expected it to be, because I enjoyed every second of the race. I never cared about my time. I never looked at my watch. I was just having a blast, Yeah.
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 And do you guys have an advantage training in Mexico City with the altitude? Did you find, like, when you go to other races that you do have that advantage? Maybe Jose, you've done a lot of races around different places. I'll start with you on that one.
We do because the altitude factor, and probably because of the contamination around here. It's like we've always lived here, and what we breathe is all this smog and whatnot, and living at it's almost 2,500 meters, which should be probably like, I don't know, like 5,000 feet or something like that, probably a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, it helps a lot when you are competing in lower places.
Yeah. And Gloria, did you notice that with the Boston? Was it a pretty big advantage? Did you, and I guess if you get away from the smog and stuff, do you feel that boost in your lungs when you're doing a marathon?
Yeah, to be honest, I've never felt that, because I've heard people talking about it, and I've never felt it. Not in a good way or in a bad way. I don't go to sea level and say, hey, I'm flying here. No, but I can go probably running in a trail in a mountain, and I don't feel like my oxygen is actually cutting off. So I've never felt like in any way that the oxygen is helping me or actually causing me problems. So it's funny. I don't know.
And now here's another Steve King story.
Hi everyone, Steve King here with you once again. So I'm going to talk about a gentleman I've known since I think 2014. I first saw him in action in Wales, of all places, in the UK. He's out of Fresnillo in Zacatecas, Mexico. Now, what was interesting about this gentleman, I think he chose to do the Ultraman UK event as a result of a gentleman who had won that event the first time in 2012, and then went to the World Championships and became a world champion. And that person was Iñaki de la Parra. He was a very young person when he actually did his first Ironman. Remember, you have to be 18 years of age, and that's what he was when he did Los Cabos. He had raced there to, I think, a 13:41 clocking. He had raced in Cozumel as well, and had done a 10-hour, 16-minute clocking. That included a 48-minute swim, a 5.5-hour bike, and a 4-hour, 5-minute marathon. I know he had run about a 3:20 in training at the marathon distance as well. But he decided to do his first ultra race in Wales, and that was Ultraman UK. As I mentioned, that 3-day event. And here he was, just 19 years of age. He had a couple of locals in the form of Debbie and Brian Jones who were on his crew, along with his friend Ramiro Gutierrez. And he ended up doing that race and doing remarkably well. He ended up with a 3:29 swim. He did a 21:18:58 2-day total, including the bike, of course, and then ran a 10:09 for a total time of 31:28:17. Became the youngest person ever to do an Ultraman, and still is. Just 19 years of age he was then. That was in 2014. He since then, he has raced again in Los Cabos. He was 61st in 2015. But what he decided to do also, which was very impressive, was to take on race directing, which is a big deal, of course. And so he ended up putting on an UltraMX 515, which is the Ultraman distance races, and he's held those since 2016. Now, what was fascinating too was the fact that he ended up putting on this year a non-stop Ultraman distance race, non-stop, without the benefit of a breaks after day 1 and day 2. And Miguel Aguilar and Michelle Echeverria were the champions in that one. He also put on what is a fairly new event, which is the Ultra 355, and they're likely to have Australia's got one, and Canada may have one next year as well. And Jorge Cabrera and Samantha Fortillo were the champions there. I'm very pleased to say that a couple of Canadians, Will Rogers and JD Tremblay, have both completed that event. And in fact, JD was second overall last year. And this year, I'm fortunate enough to be going down to Frenio in Zacatecas to join the gentleman. He is the race director. He's still just 27 years of age, I believe. And two other Canadians are going down, Chad Bentley and Brad Sauer. And Brad Sauer is the race director of Ultraman Canada. And what's wonderful is Brad is going to do the event. The exchange the free entry to this gentleman who's given it to one of the Mexican athletes who's going to be joining us in the next couple of weeks. So we want to congratulate him. He loves 1960s music, amongst other things, including Rush tribute bands as well. So I wish him well, and we certainly look forward to seeing Mr. Van Dam Sanchez.
So, Jose, you've now completed 2 UltraMX 515 races and 2 MX nonstop, 515 nonstop. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I know this nonstop thing is kind of a newer version of this, and not a lot of people have had the opportunity to do that yet. Can you tell us a little bit about how you feel the differences are between the two versions of the race? Maybe how you train differently, or how the outcome of just doing the race are different. Tell us a little bit about those differences.
Sure. I don't train differently. I just put in the same hours. When I was going to do my first nonstop, I started thinking about going out in midnight and start running here across my neighborhood for 2-3 hours to see how it felt. I never did that, and I know for a fact, because we have discussed that within the very small group of people that has done this, and nobody did that as well. It's just we follow the same training, just put in the hours, and this is a pretty new thing. So it's just a matter of getting into the line and start. You start at 3 a.m. swimming, so it's completely awkward and different. But it's I mean you just get into the water and start. Swimming, and after 3 hours and a half, 4 hours, you'll get out and start biking by around 7 a.m. And it's pretty different, as you can imagine. I mean, the other type, the classic one, is brutal, and it's 3 days separate. So you have time to finish one day and eat and relax a bit and sleep well and start again. And here you don't have that luxury, because you have 36 hours to finish. If you don't do it in 36, you didn't finish the race. So I don't know. It's hard to explain, because it's a mystery for me as well. It turns that you don't sleep. And because if you sleep, you will probably not finish the race. And somehow, if you have the willingness to do this, your body can do it.
And did you do anything different nutritionally in order to keep going when you don't have that recovery time?
Not really. I mean, I have a nutrition plan. I do that very strictly, and I just follow that nutrition plan. But that plan is no different than probably someone running an Ironman. It's what you get within each hour, and it's how many carbohydrates, drink, whatnot. Obviously, here, at some point, you have like an array of different nutrition things around you, because at some point, the only thing that you want is probably a full, very cold Coke.
Right.
And at some point, you want like a sandwich or something more like real food. But mostly it's about gels and the mix of liquids that I would use for any other race.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess the one advantage with the traditional race is you have that time to stop and eat some real solid food and digest it and let the body recover. So this is just a longer time on the gel on the other nutrition.
Yes, yes, absolutely. As I'm telling you, it is really a mystery because I think there have been 5 races like this one in all the world, 3 in Mexico and 2 in Spain. So it's not that the people that have done it have like we have the perfect plan for the nonstop. It's we're just finding out what works best, and that's that we're actually experiencing. And I've done this twice, so one of the very crazy things that happened to me is that I learned that I can go on 36 hours without sleeping, and not forcefully, but I just don't need to sleep. So that's probably my advantage in that type of events. That's something that you would have never known about if I hadn't signed up for this type of races. It's part of the discovery, which is pretty nice, no?
Yeah. Part of exploring what your limits are. Yeah. So what advice would you give someone who's going to try one of these races for the first time? Maybe someone in your house who's going to be trying one for the first time. What's like the number one piece of advice that you think is something you would have liked to have known before you started doing these?
I don't know if I would, if something that I would have known before starting one, because I am used to read like a ton of things from every place. So and try to talk to people beforehand. But the advice I would give is I can give 2 advices. First, try it. People are afraid of trying things. It's incredible. I have a bunch of friends that are, if you see them run or bike, it's the most amazing people in the world doing that. But they cannot do these races because they are afraid that something will not work out. They will not do the time they have in their mind, and they end up not doing anything ever. So the first thing is give yourself a chance. It's if you fail, who cares? I mean, they'll pull you out and you live another day and you can sign up for another race. So always try to do new things. It's I mean, that experience is the best you can get. And the other one, once you're decided to do it, just commit to the race, because you need to train, get yourself really serious, watch your nutrition. We are not like die hard on nutritional people that would not drink a beer or a cup of wine or whatnot. It's not about that. Really, you can do it having a normal style of life, but you have to commit because it's not a joke. I mean, it's these races are serious, and you have to follow training and nutrition and whatnot to be in the best shape, and try to enjoy the race rather than suffer. You're going to suffer, but
enjoy the suffering.
Enjoy the suffering.
And Gloria, you did obviously get some coaching for this to help you out, and obviously being down in Mexico, you went to Van Sanchez to get that advice and get that coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Van as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, I'm new to triathlon, so I don't know how coaches are generally, but I cannot imagine anyone who's being so involved into training people as Van, because it gets personal, so you can speak to him at any time, and you can call him and he's always answering, and he's aware of what you did and what you did not. So he's, you're just in this, last Sunday I was having dinner with my friends, and he was like, "You didn't do your training." I was like, "Oh damn, yes, you're completely right. I did not," because he knows but that's because he cares. So and he puts in as much energy as if you were going to be the next promise, the next it athlete, and you're not. I mean, you are not going to become a professional. You're not going to become an age grouper. You're not winning anything. But the type of energy and dedication and the type of commitment that he has with you is as if you were as such. So, I mean, it's just amazing. I wouldn't imagine myself being here, and enjoying my training this much if I wouldn't have the encouragement of a person that believes in you as if you were more than you will probably ever be. But that's the kind of energy he puts into it.
Yeah. And, I did have Van on as one of my guests in a previous episode. And so people that listen to this regularly kind of know the background story. That was back in episode 6 of season 1. But yeah, he was the youngest person to ever complete an Ultraman when he did it in UK. And then he just fell in love with the sport and wanted to bring it back to Mexico and bring it back to the people of Mexico. And since then, he's built up this whole triathlon series with the 355 and the 515 and the 515 nonstop. And he's training athletes. Do you think it's fair to say that Van's influence has been kind of life-changing for a number of Mexican athletes?
I'll let Jose answer that because he's been in here and knowing him since earlier. And
it is definitely, and I've spoken about it publicly before. Probably some people don't realize what Van Sanchez has done for our country. And for the ultra community here, because if it weren't for him, we probably wouldn't have done anything. And the over 100 people that have done ultraman distance events in Mexico wouldn't have done it if not for Van. What he has done, it's incredible, because he's around like 28 years old. And he's been running this show probably 7 years ago. So it's a very peculiar thing, because he's so young and he's so mature and goal oriented. So I think yes, indeed, and I'm an example of it. I would have probably gone to the US to do an Ultraman for sure, but not really dedicate more than that, probably, in my sporting life. And now I find myself being part of a family, of the Ohana, of Ultraman in Mexico, which it's rather a small community, right? But it's a very loving community. And we are, we are friends forever here. I actually find myself thinking when I was doing my second nonstop, I was there and I was thinking, if I was really doing this because of the challenge of doing the nonstop, or it was just an excuse to be with all the people that we form part of this Ohana. There and have the chance to be with them 5 days of this event, just being there and in contact.
Yeah.
And let me interrupt just there, because it was so funny that, usually in any race, you could see, a competitor that's about to finish on the last mile, and you wouldn't get all this cheering from the staff and the other competitors. I have it all on video because it's so funny. You see people, is this your last lap? Yes, it is. No, my brother, and everyone's hugging and kissing and crying because the excitement and the joy comes from everywhere. and that only happens on ultra. It's amazing. I just love it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that hooked you, right, Gloria?
No, for sure. It's the kind of person I am. I'm not. I said I'm competitive, but my core it's more friendly. So what I really love is the family.
Yeah. And what do you guys think? Now, this is part of your lifestyle. Is this going to be a yearly event for each of you? Are you going to take turns doing it? Are you going to try and compete together at a race? What's the future hold for the two of you in these races?
You
I don't
want
know.
tons?
Yeah, probably take turns, and I think how this works is that you keep pushing your limits because you cannot just stay with what you accomplish. And I think this is how we're built up as persons or as athletes. And so, you've already done the nonstop, then you probably want to have I don't know, like the 3 nonstops before anybody else does. I don't know if that's important for Jose or not, but probably. And I'm not imagining myself doing any of those anytime soon, but they're always a bigger mountain. So yeah, I'm guessing we could always find a way in which everybody can just have its own place.
Yeah.
I guess we will be there each year. We are doing obviously other things because we want to experiment other things. But yes, we will be there each year, at least in one of the events, either Gloria or me as a participant and the other one as a crew,
Mm-hmm.
or probably crewing, anyone else. But we will be there. It's part of our life now.
Yeah, yeah. That's the same thing that happened with me. Is I mean, I've been going to Penticton now since 2010, every year to crew for people, and yeah, it's just kind of that's what we do in the summer. It's like that's doesn't matter who it is. Like I don't do the racing, as people know, but yeah, up there to crew for whoever. And obviously, you guys you're growing your Ohana down there. And it sounds like the way Van has built this up is like nobody leaves. Once they're in, they're coming back and doing these races again. Like in Canada, there's a lot of people coming in from different parts of the world, and they come in. Maybe they do 1 year and they're out again, and they've made connections and stuff. But it sounds like the way Van has got it is like once people are in, they just keep coming back and coming back. So it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger of people that are still coming back. Who are some of the people that you guys have met that have become important in your life as a result of what Van's doing down there? Maybe Gloria, we'll start with you on that one. Who's inspirational for the people you've met?
Yeah, there's this woman called Fernanda Cantu that I just loved from the beginning. It was the first time crewing for Jose, and I kept looking at this girl that was always smiling. And I was like, what is she smiling about? Isn't she suffering? And you just need to see her swim. It's such an amazing spectacle. So I was like, I admired her from the beginning. And the attitude that she puts into the race, for me, is like the whole spirit of Ultraman. So, and yeah, I mean, we've met a lot of people. Her husband, Mario, is great. Carlos Peña, it's just amazing and hilarious, and his wife, it's Melissa. She's one of the funniest people I've ever met, and I don't know, Delia, Lujan. There are like tons of people. I don't know, Jose.
Yeah, the 3 that you mentioned, they are now part of our family. We really love them and admire them. But I have to mention also, for me personally, there's a guy. His name is Ramiro Gutierrez. He's a bit older than me. He's the oldest guy around always. Yeah. He has done this like I don't know, like 8 times. Probably I think he's the Mexican that has done the most of Ultraman events in history. Yeah. And he's the most private person that you will ever know. If it weren't because we mentioned him, because we admire him, probably you would never heard of him because he's not that type of person. he's just the athlete that goes to the races and it's there and he carries a crew. He's from Zacatecas, so his crew is around 50 people. So he runs with 50 people, and everybody loves him. If I had to mention one, and as really as a tribute, because he's a fantastic guy. It's Ramiro Gutierrez, but we also have other very good friends that with very impressive resumes. Mike Garcia, probably you
yes, he's been on the show.
You have heard of,
yeah.
Mike Garcia. He's an excellent friend. He's a beautiful person, and he has done also he has done every with Ramiro. He has done every unfinished every 5:15, the classic 3-day event since Van put the first one. He's an amazing guy, and there's a lot of other people. Gloria mentioned already 3 of them. I think it would be unfair to mention some other ones because it's really a great community. So we love them all.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I heard recently as well that Van announced that Steve King will be coming to the race in October to do the announcing. And for people that haven't experienced that before, that is going to add just one more level of that Ohana, because Steve knows every connection that every racer has, and he will be out there making them sound like rock stars. And so that was a very, very big deal for Van to get Steve King to come down and do the race. So good on you, Van, for that one. That's going to really put your race over the top, I think.
For sure, that's a privilege in itself, but it also attests the level of events that Van has created. If you compare the events that Van puts there in Zacatecas or the 355 in Cozumel, it's the quality. It's like any other Ultraman that you will know at like the highest quality around the world. The events are amazing. So I think it goes both ways.
Yeah. So Gloria, I guess now preparing for your longest swim ever, this 10K swim. How are you feeling about that? How's the training going? Are you going to get out of the water in time to keep the rest of the race going?
Well, that's my hope. I'm just, I don't have like this very good relationship with the water, and that I think it's what I need to work the most, in the process, because I do feel like I have good capabilities. That's a word. From a physical perspective, I'm a good athlete. I have commitment with training, but I think that the biggest problem that I have with the water is mental and probably emotional. And that's what I need to work on right now. And I've experienced the very few, competitions I've been in. It's always been the same. I jump into the water very, very excited. I'm never scared of it. I swear, it's not something that I grow from the minute I wake up. I jump into the water thrilled, and then like 300 meters, after that, I start feeling this, so anxious, and I just feel my mind start thinking, hey, probably you need to drop out. You're not gonna finish. This is too much for you. Step out. I start feeling the hands of other people around me, and it's just too much for me. So I literally just need to put, myself aside from the hurricane, and just allow myself to breathe and say, hey, you can do this. At least try. Just try and go, one arm in front of the other and see what happens. And, at least for the time being, I've been able to finish all of my races. So I'm hoping it's going to be the same, and not only the same, but better.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that you've obviously got the right attitude about putting the one arm in front of the other and getting there, and already training yourself to psych yourself up to do it right. And with a coach like Van, I'm sure he'll have you ready to go and through that water in no time. And you'll jump out of the water and hear Steve King, and it'll be race on for you. You won't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gloria and Jose, thank you so much for taking the time to do this Zoom meeting today and be a part of the podcast. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with the race this year and seeing, as you said, how Van is growing this stuff. It's really exciting, and I'm hoping to get down there one day and witness it firsthand. And good luck to both of you guys for your future races, and Gloria, for you to step up and jump right into this stuff. That's amazing. I admire the fact that you did a 3:55 as your first try, and now you're going right to this 5:15. So people will be looking for you and cheering for you. Thanks so much, guys, for coming to the podcast.
Thank you, Larry, for having us. It was great.
Thank you. A pleasure to talk to you, Larry. Thank you very much.
Hey, if you liked what you heard today, please tell a friend and be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'd appreciate it if you'd rate and review the show while you're there. Drop the names of the people you think we should interview, and we'll get in touch with them and make that happen. Thank you for listening to 515, the Ultra Podcast, a production of 55 Enterprises. Now really, go subscribe now before you forget.